Part 131. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1301. Chapter 1301, You know how to take advantage of children. Ms. Joan, Madam agrees to let Miss Ure in. Okay, thank you. Joan Yun nodded, holding her daughter and preparing to walk inside. But he didn't expect that the housekeeper would reach out and stop him. Madam said, only Miss Ure is invited in. Emphasize that Mrs. Nangong only wants to see Nangong Yu. Joan Yun was naturally unwilling. Ure is so young, how can I safely let her go in alone? Ms. Joan, do you doubt that we can't take care of a child? Of course not. Even if she had that thought in her heart, she couldn't say it now. What I mean is that Ure is still young, and I'm afraid that she will make mistakes and get into trouble if she goes in by herself. Joan Yun deliberately said something nice. After all, it would be bad to bring trouble to Madam, so it's best if I take Ure in. It sounds like this, but the housekeeper doesn't accept this. The butler's attitude was also very firm. I'm sorry, Madam, he emphasized that maliciously, and I can't make the decision without authorization. In fact, there is another story that Joan Yun doesn't even know. The housekeeper of the Nangong family has been working here for many years. He has watched Nangong Luo and Gongkin Li grow up. At that time, everyone in the family was optimistic about the relationship between the two, but then Joan Yun suddenly appeared, and it always felt like he was getting involved. They couldn't talk about the master's affairs, so they thought that they would slowly accept whoever the young master chose. But now they know that everything is false, and they, the old people, have a feeling of rejection towards Joan Yun. After living in a place for a long time, feelings will naturally develop. They are full of feelings for the Nangong family. When the master is deceived, the servant's heart will also be inclined to the master, just like the housekeeper. The housekeeper decisively rejected Joan Yun, and Joan Yun kept holding the child's hand without letting go. The housekeeper's gaze fell on the hands of the mother and daughter, and he reminded him lukewarmly, Miss Joan, no one can violate Madam's special instructions. If you still find it inconvenient, there is no need to let Miss Ure in. Please come back. This is what Mrs. Nangong meant. Now Joan Yun and Nangong Yu want to see Mrs. Nangong, so they have no better choice. Joan Yun reluctantly let go of her daughter's hand, lowered her head and warned, Ure, when you see Grandma when you go in, you must be polite and obedient, you know. I see. Nangong Yu answered loudly. Nangong Yu knew the way, so he let go of his hand and ran in quickly. Children don't understand the thoughts of adults. She can't wait to go back to her big house and doesn't care whether Joan Yun goes in with her or not. Grandma, Grandma. As soon as he entered the door, he shouted at the top of his lungs, for fear that no one would respond. Mrs. Nangong happened to be waiting for her downstairs, and she could be seen at a glance while sitting in the living room. Nangong Yu happily ran over, Grandma. In the end, Mrs. Nangong could not be hard-hearted, and she answered the child with a gentle nod. Nangong Yu crawled along the sofa and sat down next to Mrs. Nangong. Thinking of what Joan Yun told her before coming in, she became more restrained than before. However, Mrs. Nangong has watched her grow up for 3 years, and is very familiar with Nangong Yu's little actions and thoughts. Looking at her sitting next to her, her eyes were wandering around and her little hands were grabbing her knees. These small movements were inattentive and thinking about other things. Just say what you want to say, don't hold it back. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1302. Chapter 1302, set at the age of 3, the nature is hard to change. Grandma, I want to live in a big house. As expected, Nangong Yu couldn't hide his words. As soon as he saw Mrs. Nangong, he spoke out his inner thoughts. Mrs. Nangong's heart sank, but she didn't show it in front of the child, Did your mother teach you this? Nangongyu shook his head. Mommy said there will be no big house in the future. Why isn't there a big house? Grandma, I want to live in a big house. Hearing what Nangongyu said, Mrs. Nangong felt a little better. She suspected that Zhonyun would use the child for something. It seemed that the child would say such things just because the child was used to this place. You cannot deny a child who doesn't understand anything because of an adult's mistake. Mrs. Nangong is quite tolerant about this. What has you done recently? Go to school. Go to school. At first, hearing that Nangongyu had changed so much, Mrs. Nangong was still a little uncomfortable and thought to herself, is it true that setbacks make it easier for people to grow? You went to school recently, what did you learn? Oh, why don't you ask me, Grandma? I want to live in a big room. Nangongyu answered the question impatiently. Mrs. Nangong's newly brewing emotions were disturbed by her. Children who are disobedient can be taught slowly, and children who are not polite can be learned slowly. However, if there is no change for a long time, it will make people feel uncomfortable. Mrs. Nangong shook her head helplessly. Looking at Nangongyu's current tomb, she felt like rotten wood cannot be carved. Did she overestimate Zhonyun or the child? The servant brought the fruit, and it happened to be the nanny who used to take care of Nangongyu. Little miss, would you like some fruit? Nangongyu turned around and saw that it was his favorite food, so he reached out and took it. Mrs. Nangong looked on expressionlessly and didn't say much. Little miss, if you want to eat anything else, just tell me and I'll go right away. Ahem. Mrs. Nangong clenched a fist with one hand and put it in front of her mouth, coughing lightly, and reminded her from the side. She let Nangongyu in because she couldn't bear it for a moment, but she had no intention of letting the little guy stay here forever. It would be bad if the news spread to the ears of the Gong family. The nanny also immediately stopped her voice. The nanny always pays attention to the owner's expression, for fear that she will make a mistake. Because after Nangongyu left, the nanny almost lost her job. But then Mrs. Nangong thought about it and realized that the nanny was indeed very attentive and capable in taking care of children. If she stayed here, she might be able to prepare for Xiao Yu at all times, so the nanny was lucky enough to keep this high-paying job. But now it seems that the nanny is used to Nangongyu. If Xiao Yu really comes, she has to observe whether it is suitable. Just like that, the nanny's position at home has changed. After the nanny brought the plate of Nangongyu's favorite fruit, she didn't dare to be as casual as before without Mrs. Nangong's special instructions. In the past, Nangongyu would just tell him what he wanted. At that time, they would find a way to get it for Nangongyu, but it is different now. It's different now. Nangongyu knew how to wipe his hands after eating. Mrs. Nangong took this opportunity to remind the nanny again, didn't you remember what I said last time? From now on, only you will be the young lady living at home. I'm sorry, ma'am, I'll pay attention. Mrs. Nangong's eyes temporarily left Nangongyu. She didn't expect Nangongyu to sneak to the door of her previous room so quickly. The door was unlocked and she opened it with a twist. She was familiar with this place and this door, but after opening it, she discovered. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1303. Chapter 1303 I want my big bed. She found that the appearance of the room had changed into something she did not recognize. The room was originally equipped with beautiful bookcases and a beautiful big bed, but now there are only a lot of cabinets containing some books. The big bed is gone, and so are her toys. Nangongyu ran downstairs with a cry. When he found Mrs. Nangong, he kept pulling her hand to tell her to stand up. Grandma, follow me. What's wrong? Mrs. Nangong still didn't know the reason for her sudden change of expression. When Nangongyu exerted her strength, the force was quite strong. Mrs. Nangong was so troubled by her that she stood up and followed Nangongyu upstairs. It was only when she saw the room she was pointing at that she suddenly understood. After Zhonyun and Nangongyu left, she had these two rooms transformed into study rooms. It was inevitable that no one could live here anymore. Only in this way could the traces of their life in this home gradually disappear. Mrs. Nangong is very clear about Nangongyu's mentality. She didn't know how to explain clearly to a child. No matter what she said, she might hurt the child, so she finally decided to leave the important responsibility to the child's mother. Let me take you out to find mommy first. I don't want it, I want my big bed, I want my toys. Nangongyu seemed unwilling to believe what he saw in front of him, so he rushed into the room and shouted ah. Nangongyu originally had that bad habit of making noises if the time was not to her liking. In addition, a girl's voice is inherently sharp, so her shouting at the top of her lungs was really unbearable. That's enough, stop making trouble. She doesn't like to hear Mrs. Nangong yelling. No books, I want my big bed, I want my toys, Nangongyu shouted while stamping her feet. She has completely forgotten what Zhonyun told her. Mrs. Nangong felt very angry just looking at her appearance. Carrying such a child for a long time would really depress her heart. Especially when compared with another granddaughter who is better and closer, Mrs. Nangong's impression of Nangongyu plummeted. If you keep making noise, I'll ask your mommy to take you away. Mrs. Nangong's threat just stepped on Nangongyu's pain point, and she immediately silenced her voice. In the past, Nangongyu was the most arrogant in front of Mrs. Nangong, and only Zhonyun in the family could suppress her. Now that Mrs. Nangong no longer favors her, she naturally doesn't have so many scruples. Genza finally calmed down. Mrs. Nangong gave a look to the nanny who was following her, and the nanny came up and tried to pull Nangongyu away. Go down. Mrs. Nangong stared at her. The nanny tried to take Nangongyu down, but Nangongyu wanted to fight her, holding on to the edge of the stairs and refusing to let go. She didn't speak, but she showed it with actions. Mrs. Nangong personally pried her fingers off the edge of the stairs one by one. Let's go. This time the nanny picked him up and carried him downstairs. Nangongyu struggled hard in the nanny's arms. Mrs. Nangong looked at her and shook her head. Sure enough, there are big differences between people. For example, Xiao Yuer never does such impolite things. Mrs. Nangong couldn't stand it any longer, so she called the housekeeper, butler, go and ask Zhonyun to come in. Zhonyun was ecstatic when she got the agreement. She finally had the chance to return to this home again. Zhonyun entered the door full of hope and shouted, Mom! Equals. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1304. Chapter 1304 Who is your mother? Ms. Zhone, be careful, you can eat randomly, but you can't talk nonsense. Mrs. Nangong feels very harsh now when she hears Zhonyun call her Dr. Mom. Zhonyun was humiliated on the spot and looked a little unhappy. But she was the best at making appearances, and she returned to normal in just a few seconds, and even changed her words according to Mrs. Nangong's wishes. Mrs. Nangong snored. Mrs. Nangong snorted coldly, not sure whether this was an answer or a disregard. Zhonyun warned herself in her heart to be patient. Mrs. Nangong gave the nanny a look, and the nanny pulled Nangongyu in front of Zhonyun. Mrs. Nangong said slowly, you can take your daughter back. As soon as Nangongyu heard that he was leaving here, he was unhappy. I'm not leaving, Grandma, I'm not leaving. The noise was annoying. Zhonyun quickly covered her mouth. Shut up. Hanangong you didn't listen to her words, and the mother and daughter became so stubborn that it was like a farce. Zhonyun pleaded urgently, "Madam, I have something to tell you. Can you please give me some time? I have nothing to say to you. Take your daughter and leave." "Madam, I'm really in a hurry, it's about Luo." Zhonyun took out Nangong Luo's name. Mrs. Nangong waved to the nanny, and the nanny took Nangong Yu aside. Zhonyun glanced around and saw that there was no one else around, and knelt down directly in front of Mrs. Nangong. Mrs. Nangong frowned, "What are you doing?" Zhonyun lowered her head and her shoulders trembled. "Madam, I'm here to admit my mistake today. Everything I did in the past was all my fault. I beg my aunt to forgive me. All the things in the past can be wiped out with just a word of admission from you. You think things are too good." I know Zhonyun's tone was a little lower. "I know I made mistakes, but there are still many misunderstandings that have not been explained clearly. I hope my aunt can give me another chance to change my ways. I will definitely do a good job make up for past mistakes. Forget it, I don't dare to let you come and harm our family again." Mrs. Nangong couldn't help but sneer, "If you were smart, you should avoid us instead of showing up. Don't think that the revenge against the Zhone family last time can calm everything down. We remember clearly what you did to the old man. If you come again, don't blame me for being rude to you." Her heart was heaving violently, but Zhonyun was angry. On the surface, he begged for forgiveness, but in his heart, he had already scolded Mrs. Nangong. Mrs. Nangong is a decisive person. Since she doesn't want to tangle with Zhonyun, she doesn't want to waste any more words with her. Hence directly asked Zhonyun and her daughter to be invited out. Actually, even so, Mrs. Nangong was still unhappy. She is so worried about her son's marriage. Even if she knew that what happened 4 years ago was an accident caused by a strange combination of circumstances, if her daughter left her hometown for 4 years because of someone else's son and still lived alone with her child, she probably wouldn't like to see those people. After much thought, Mrs. Nangong decided to come to the palace family in person to apologize. Only her son could be happy, so she didn't want her old face. At the same time, Nangong Luo also had a hopeless solution. "It's you who wants to ask for forgiveness and you drag me with you, but I won't plead for you." Gong Qinli reluctantly followed Nangong Luo to the Gong family. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1305. Chapter 1305. It turns out that Luo is a millionaire. No one knows what good way Nangong Luo thought of to ask for forgiveness from the Gong family and his wife. Until he put all his wealth and property on the table. "I have 3 apartments in the main urban area of S City, 2 villas in the suburbs, and several foreign companies." He said a lot without breathing. The Gong family and his wife were both stunned when they heard this. Gong Qinli also pricked up her ears and couldn't count clearly. Finally, she stared at Nangong Luo in surprise and blinked. "How rich are you?" "I haven't calculated it." Nangong Luo's answer was very clever, and it only needed a kakimatikan. Gong Qinli hugged him tightly and said, "Luo, you are so rich, do you still need a leg pendant? I will hang out with you from now on." Ahem. Ah, ha ha ha. Hearing a few coughs, Gong Qinli quickly walked away from Nangong Luo. For a moment, she actually forgot about the environment she was in. The reaction of the Gong family couple when they saw their daughter also guessed that the two had reconciled in private. They were also amazed that Nangong Luo reported all his net worth so straightforwardly, but they were always unwilling to let him go so easily. "You have said so much, and you have not mentioned it all with the name of the Nangong family. Although you are the head of the Nangong family now, it is not your ability to inherit the property accumulated by your predecessors." Mr. Gong deliberately wanted to cause him trouble. But when this matter was mentioned, Nangong Luo smiled. "Uncle Gong, don't worry, these are my personal property, Nangong Luo, and are not shared with anyone. This, even the palace lady found it incredible. The two old men looked at each other, which contained too many emotions. And Nangong Luo wants this effect. What he has to do is to be unexpected and give them a new understanding of themselves, rather than just remembering the unreliable rich kid from before. Nangong Luo pushed all the things forward. The reason why I brought these things to show you today is not to show off, but I hope you can witness that I, Nangong Luo, am willing to give everything for Li Yulai. These words are still a bit shocking to a parent's heart. Although it is said that money is an external possession, money is also a good thing to measure value. However, Mr. Gong is still unwilling to let him go so easily. When you want to find trouble, you can find many mistakes by focusing on one thing. Mr. Gong asked in a loud voice, "Are you implying that my Gong family will ignore their daughter because of money? Or do you think my daughter Li Yulai will marry you because you are rich?" Nangong Luo finally knows what it means to find fault with something. But the one who wants to pick a bone is his future father-in-law. Even if there are no bones in the egg, he, the son-in-law, must try his best to put it in for his father-in-law. Uncle Gong, Li Yulai, and I have known each other for many years. In fact, we all know each other well. What I am doing now is not to seduce anything with money, but just to prove to you that I am sincere to Li Yulai. She is everything to me. After hearing this, Gong Qinli raised her slender fingers and wiped the non-existent tears from the corners of her eyes twice. If her parents were not present, she would really want to say, "I like money. Isn't it just to get married?" She is willing. Thinking that she will have so much property in the future, she will go straight to the top of her life, right? Dad, Mom, actually I. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1306. Chapter 1306. Daughter, you must be happy. Dad, Mom, actually I like it very much. Shut up. Money. The word was interrupted by Mr. Gong before he could say it. Gong Qinli curled her lips helplessly, put away her voice, and continued to listen. Our daughter from the Gong family is not short of money, so your wishful thinking is wrong. Mr. Gong still had a straight face, which made people feel that he was like a hard mountain that was difficult to shake. Nangong Luo said with sincerity, "Uncle, money is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that I am sincere to Li Yulai. I hope you can give me a chance. As long as you are willing to give me a chance, I can do whatever you want me to do. Okay, come with me." At this moment, Mr. Gong took Nangong Luo to the study alone, leaving only Mrs. Gong and Gong Qinli outside. Gong Qinli shook her head. "Mom, what kind of magical existence is this study? Why does everyone have to go to the study to talk about business? The study is poisonous. What nonsense are you talking about?" Mrs. Gong smiled secretly when she heard her daughter talking. Although her poor words sounded like she was talking nonsense, she knew that a woman was like a mother, and Mrs. Gong could also tell that her daughter was in a happy mood. The reason why they are making things difficult for Nangong Luo is not because they really don't like Nangong Luo, they are just complaining about their daughter. In fact, when their daughter makes a choice, it is time for them to let go. Nangong Luo and Mr. Gong went to the study room. The pile of property certificates were still on the table. Gong Qinli saw the pile of things on the table, laughed twice, stretched out her hands and took them all into her arms. "These things are not heavy, but when I hold them in my hands, I feel heavy in my heart. Look at how obsessed with money you are. Did our Gong family treat you badly before or something like that? Mom, this kind of thing cannot be confused at all. Think about it, this pair of Nangong Luo's things will belong to me, Gong Qinli, and your daughter will soon become a millionaire. Oh no, she is a billionaire. Gong Qin Li's exaggerated performance also expressed her determination to Mrs. Gong. She will be with Nangong Luo in the future. Mrs. Gong pointed at her and said, "Don't think that I can't understand the meaning of your words. You just told me in a different way that you have decided to be with him and you want your father and I to stop pass him, right?" He Gong Qin Li grinned at her mother. Mrs. Gong wiped the corners of her eyes and said, "Young women are not allowed to stay. Since it was your choice, what can we do?" "Mom, why do you say such things? You clearly know that your daughter is the most filial to you and her father. Lu Li, your dad, and I are not the kind of unreasonable people. We are doing this just to let him know what hard-earned things mean. We hope that there will be someone who can cherish you." Mrs. Gong's words touched Gong Qin Li's heart. At this moment, she deeply felt the love and reluctance of her parents for her. Her eyes actually became wet, and she shouted uncomfortably, "Mom!" Mother and daughter hugged each other, and silent tears filled the corners of Madame Palace's eyes. They will still live in the same place, but this time, the daughter really belongs to someone else. They parents are really reluctant to part with it. "Lu Li, my precious daughter, you must be happy." "Mom, I can do it." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1307. Chapter 1307. Brother Gu, are you happy? What, are you getting married? Yes, I'll invite you to the wedding banquet when the time comes. Okay, great, I've been waiting for this day for a long time, and now it's finally here. When Gong Qin Li conveyed the good news of marriage to Ye Weiwei on the phone, Ye Weiwei was very excited at the time, because her friend's lifelong event had always been a big stone hanging in her heart, and now it was finally settled. She, the matchmaker who tried her best to bring together and deliver the news, finally succeeded. As soon as the news came out, I felt that everyone and everything around me was full of joy. Nangong Luo recently showed off in front of them with his wife and daughter, and he seemed to be floating. Nearly everyone now knows about the two of them. Whether it is sincerely or just for superficiality, everyone has sent their blessings. Even Yezikin said, "I will give you a big gift when the time comes." Nangong Luo was overjoyed. Tisk, 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 I'm afraid I'm going to get rich if I wait until boss you open the door. Ouch, 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 I was happy 1 second, and screamed the next. It was because Gong Qin Li grabbed his ear and his painful spot. Huh? Are you going to lose your temper? Have you forgotten what you said to me? No, my wife, I was wrong, my wife. He admitted his mistake without hesitation, looking like a wife slave. But Nangong Luo himself didn't feel ashamed, but rather enjoyed it. Because he said before, from now on, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is still yours. This is all of his own will, so no matter what loss he suffers, he is happy with it. And in his opinion, if he can achieve his dream and marry the person he loves, then everything else will be considered a loss. Dedication. Nangong Luo's performance made Gong Qin Li very satisfied. Gong Qin Li even peeled a grape and fed it to him. Xiao Yu ran in from outside and saw Gong Qin Li serving Nangong Luo eating grapes. She happily ran to Gong Qin Li and said, "Mommy, I want to eat too." "Well, give me a grape, my dear." "No, I'll give you all these, as many as you want." "Thank you, Mommy." Xiao Yu held the plate of grapes and did not let Gong Qin Li peel them for her, but handed them all to Nangong Luo. Nangong Luo laughed at that time, picked up the grapes and stuffed them into his mouth. While eating, he said, "Xiao Yu is still good to daddy and knows how to be filial." Xiao Yu looked at the plate with her fingers and said clearly, "Daddy, help Yu peel it." Nangong Luo, seeing his daughter's sincere and innocent eyes, he nodded tearfully and said, "I am very willing." Gong Qin Li laughed loudly on the sidelines. While she was laughing, her eyes kept falling on Xiao Yu, and she almost shed tears as she smiled. Everyone said that Yor was precocious and sensible, but sometimes she really felt sorry for her daughter, and she had to be sensible because she didn't have the capital to be proud of herself. In the past, she had taken care of Yor alone, and Yor would hardly take the initiative to make requests to her unless it was something Yor couldn't do on her own. But now she finally sees her daughter acting like a spoiled child with her parents like other children. She is really, really happy. Not far away, when Ye Wei passed by, he saw Gu Jinsi standing there, his eyes fixed on Gong Qinli and the other three. Ye Wei asked knowingly, "Brother Gu, seeing their family of three enjoying themselves, aren't you happy for them?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1308. Chapter 1308. It's coming soon. It's coming soon. Gu Jinsi didn't answer and asked instead, "Do you think I should be happy?" This comic has a profound meaning, and Ye Wei just pretends not to know it. She nodded, "I think you should be happy when lovers finally get married." Gu Jinsi. Probably because he has become more and more Buddhist in recent years, Ye Yuyi is able to kill instantly with just one sentence. Brother Gu and Li Yulai were both abroad at the time. You should have heard clearly about Li Yulai, right? Yes, so what? Brother Gu has been very tight-lipped about Li Yulai's affairs over the years and has not revealed any rumors. He is a trustworthy person. Ye Wei satirized Gu Jinsi. She and Gong Qinli had a close friendship. When Gong Qinli told her what had happened, she had a clue. The previous misunderstanding between Gong Qinli and Nangong Luo was caused intentionally by someone. If not, the lovers would not have wasted so much time. She is not good at dealing with people. For her, Gong Qinli and Nangong Luo are best friends. Gu Jinsi's status must be moved back. Hence, she felt that it was not fair at all for Gu Jinsi to do such a thing. Forget it about plotting against others, even your own brothers. It is too abominable. But now the rain has finally passed and the sky has cleared, and the matter between Nangong Luo and Gong Qinli seems to have settled. Hurry up! Hurry up, hurry up! Hurry, hurry, come soon! Ye Wei stood at the door, holding the handle of the suitcase in his hand. She looked at the time and urged the two children who were still groping in the room. After waiting for about half an hour, the two children finished packing their things and the aunt took them down. Yezikin, a person who couldn't do without work for 130 days out of 136 days, finally wanted to pursue personal interests once. He took his wife and two children out for a walk while he was on a field trip to see something. A different living atmosphere than usual. And now they are still preparing for departure. In order to cultivate the children's independence, Ye Wei deliberately let the two children pack their own things. It didn't matter whether they brought too much or missed. If you bring too much, the car can fit it in. If you bring too little, they can buy it at any time. However, the brother and sister each had a small suitcase, which could not hold many things. Ye Wei waited twice when he took it over. It was of average weight. Are you sure you have everything in hand? Get it? Now that we have it, let's set off. He raised his hand and waved in the direction of the sun outside the door. Their family was full of expectations for this trip. The accident of the third daughter Nuan left a big shadow in Ye Wei's heart, and that shadow was reflected in her desire to protect her children. She would rather give up her favorite music to stay by her children's side personally, and she also pays great attention to their children's food, clothing, housing, and transportation. She was reluctant to let her children out when they were young, and she was afraid of accidents even if they were accompanied by someone. Now that the two children are a little older, she is finally willing to let them go for a walk. The world outside is very exciting. Mommy, where are we going? This question is a bit complicated. You can ask Daddy. Is Daddy omnipotent? I can ask anything. Children are rich in language and speak freely, which often makes adults laugh. You will know if Daddy is omnipotent, just ask. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke. Chapter 1309. Chapter 1309. Can you bring Nuan back? Daddy is omnipotent, so can Daddy bring Nuan back? Tongyanwaji, Yeshiruo was caught off guard and asked a question of extraordinary significance. Yaiwei, who had been smiling just now when facing the two children, suddenly turned gloomy. Even Yezikin had a serious look on his face. Come over. Yezikin spoke abruptly, and at the same time stretched out a hand towards his daughter. Yeshiruo frowned and glanced at Yewei and then glanced at Yezikin. Finally, due to the seriousness on Yezikin's face, she raised her white and tender little hand and placed it on his warm and thick hand. Palm. The feeling is true, but Yeshiruo's heart is hanging. Daddy. Yeshiruo didn't expect that one of her questions would make her parents like this. There wasn't even a smile on their faces, which made her a little scared. When she saw Yezikin's cold face, she somewhat to escape. Sister-controlled Yeching-feng did not hesitate to stand up and speak for Yeshiruo. Daddy, you scared my sister. Yezikin reached out and put Yeshiruo directly on his knees. I reminded you before about what not to say, do you remember? Remember? The two of them answered in different voices, looking at each other humbly. Yezikin had specially warned Yezikin before when Yewei was not present that he must not bring up the matter of Nuan in front of Yewei for no reason. The children are still young, and they cannot tell them such a cruel truth, let alone let them know that their sister has disappeared from this world from the beginning. So the explanation they gave their children about Nuan was, you also have a sister who doesn't live with us now, but you can't mention her to mommy for no reason. At that time, the brother and sister asked, why? But the real situation, none of them are willing to speak. The matter was shelved just like that. The reason why Yeshiruo asked this question today was because he was influenced. When she was packing her things just now, she accidentally dropped a wooden sign with the words Mo Xiangnuan written on it. This word is very familiar to them, but this sister has never seen it before, so she finds it very strange. But just for a moment, they were really scared when they saw Yewei's sudden change of expression. Yewei glanced away and did not answer the question. She kept looking out the window, where there were distant mountains, blue sky, and white clouds. She kept looking out the window, as if she could see the sky beyond. After a long while, she wiped the corners of her eyes before taking the child back. But this also means that Yeshiruo's question will not be answered. It is enough to experience many things once, keep mentioning them, and keep thinking about them. Which you are willing to miss, and hearing it from others are completely different concepts. This time I am only halfway through my business trip, but my heart is heavy. Mommy, where are we going this time? Go to a more special place. A more special place? Then they would like to hear Yewei's explanation. Tweet, the fox demon is too sexy. The life in the demon world is getting tired, and the Fox King is about to leave home. Accidentally entering the wrong time and space, and meeting his savior from thousands of years ago, the Fox King had no choice but to rely on his beauty and cuteness to beg for support. From now on, you can unlock the new skill of doting wife. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke. Chapter 1310. Chapter 1310. It's been you through the years, and your original intention has been fulfilled. They are accustomed to enjoying a good life in the city with clothes on their hands, food on their hands, and mouths to eat, but this time they want to go to other places to collect information, to places slightly away from the city, such as the suburbs or small mountain villages. Yewei wants to take her children to see different living environments to increase their knowledge. The car flew by in the dust, and they finally arrived at their destination after 4 or 5 hours. Here we are, get off the car. Great. The only one holding their hands that night made them jump with joy. The sight of a large green tree looks like a mini version of a forest. And children are full of interest in novel things. I've never been here. I haven't been here either. It's so beautiful here. Yes, it's so beautiful. The two brothers and sisters did not need to intervene, just to cultivate a sense of consciousness for them. They found a B&B nearby. It is a coincidence that the place Yezikin chose to collect folk songs this time was actually the place that Yuan Ran liked very much 4 years ago. However, in recent years, this area has been developed not for tourism but for agriculture. There are a little more people living here, but the number of tourists is gradually becoming scarce. This time Yezikin also happened to come. They took the children to find a B&B in Mangzhenyi. After putting down their things, the children started clamoring to go out and play. Ye Weiwei first asked Yezikin if he had time. Of course, Yezikin chose his wife and children without hesitation. He picked up the child with one hand, lifted it high, and walked out with the two children in his arms. Daddy is so strong. Daddy is awesome. The two brothers and sisters are very interesting. When coaxing others, one will say what they say and the other will agree. Standing high, one can see far away. The two children were held high by Yezikin and could see the distant scenery, which made them very happy. That's awesome. Look, there are dragonflies. Yezikin put them down, and the two children ran as fast as their soles were greased. After playing with their children for a long time, a certain couple has not yet fully realized the fun. After the children return to the accommodation, they will let the person who specializes in taking care of the children guard them. And the parents occasionally behaved inappropriately. For example, they quietly gathered outside when the children could no longer go out. Yezikin stood by the river. There was a guardrail in front of him, so he was safe. Ye Weiwei deliberately walked to him with soft footsteps and covered his eyes with her hands. Guess who I am? Can't guess. You can't even guess it, so easily has your IQ deteriorated. Ah. Ye Weiwei wanted to tease him, but as soon as he finished speaking, he was picked up by someone. Lifted high? Although she didn't lift them up casually like a child, her feet suddenly jumped into the air, as if a breath of cold air had entered, making her whole body tremble. Why are you still so thin? He touched the waist as if it was close to the bones. Ye Weiwei couldn't help but retort, I am slim, do you understand slim? It would be better to gain some weight. Get fat? Brother Chen, you won't be so tacky and say, if you gain weight, no one else will want you, only I will like you, right? Do you think it's possible? Ye Weiwei shook his head repeatedly. I dare not even think about such earthy love words. The night wind blew, and Ye Weiwei lowered his head and pressed his forehead against his. We haven't been alone together like this for a long time. End of this chapter.